What's next for South Sudanese after the U.S. ends temporary protected status? Washington, D.C., November 6, 2025. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security (DHS) has officially announced the termination of temporary protected status (TPS) for South Sudan, ending more than a decade of special immigration protection for nationals fleeing conflict and instability. According to the notice published in the Federal Register, the decision will take effect 60 days after publication, marking the end of deportation protection and work authorization for approximately 232 South Sudanese beneficiaries, as well as dozens of pending applicants. The move comes amid renewed political and humanitarian turmoil in South Sudan, where peace implementation has stalled and violence continues in several regions. Advocates warn that ending TPS could expose many South Sudanese in the U.S. to deportation to a country still struggling with insecurity, food shortages, and fragile governance. Human rights organizations are urging Trump administration to reconsider the decision, citing worsening conditions that could make safe return impossible. Immigration attorneys say affected individuals should begin exploring alternative legal options, such as asylum, family-based petitions, or adjustment of status if eligible. The DHS said it will issue detailed guidance in the coming weeks on how TPS holders can prepare for the transition, including employment authorization expiration and departure timelines. South Sudan was first designated for TPS in 2011 following the country's independence and ensuing conflict. The status has been renewed multiple times due to ongoing violence and humanitarian crises. With the latest decision, community leaders fear the loss of legal status could uproot families who have lived in the United States for years, many of whom have U.S.-born children and deep community ties. UNMISS field office closure sparks concern among local staff in Awil. Governor Simon Ober-Mawat urges clarity on future of national employees. Awil, South Sudan. Concerns have emerged among local employees of the United Nations mission in South Sudan UNMISS following reports of the mission's decision to close its field office in Awil, northern Bahr el Ghazal state. During a meeting with an UNMISS delegation on Tuesday, State Governor Simon Ober-Mawat expressed the state government's concerns about the closure, urging the mission to clarify the fate of its national staff who may be affected by the decision. Mawat stressed the need for the UN to act responsibly and ensure that local employees are not left without support. We value UNMISS for its role in maintaining peace and supporting our communities, Governor Mawat said. But we are deeply concerned about our sons and daughters who have served the mission with dedication. Their future must not be left uncertain. The reported closure follows a gradual reduction of UNMISS operations in several parts of South Sudan as the mission shifts focus towards supporting the country's upcoming elections and consolidating peace gains. However, the Awil office has long played a critical role in local peace-building, civil-military coordination, and human rights monitoring across northern Bahr el Ghazal. Local staff members, many of whom have worked with UNMISS for years, said they were informed informally about the impending closure but have yet to receive official communication regarding contract termination or possible transfers. We don't know whether we will be redeployed or dismissed, one affected employee told Sudan's Post on condition of anonymity. Community leaders have also raised fears that the closure could weaken UNMISS's presence in border areas prone to intercommunal tensions and seasonal conflict with neighboring Sudanese communities. Without UNMISS here, small conflicts could escalate quickly, said a civil society representative in Awil. As of Thursday, UNMISS headquarters in Juba had not issued a formal statement regarding the reported closure or the reassignment of staff. The mission maintains field offices across several states, including Bentiu, Bor, Wau, Malakal, and Torit, where it continues to support peacekeeping, protection, and humanitarian coordination efforts. Further updates and clarification on the transfer of the case of Puot Khan Cole and 7 others to Lake State. The clarification that I wanted to make is that the purported transfer of the above case to Lake State is not just a normal transfer as I reported it previously. Rather, it is a part of state-managed and calculated assassination plan to kill Dr. Riek Machar and others. The plan to kill Dr. Riek Machar and others, as I have referred to in the foregoing paragraph, was hatched by Bull Mel, who approached President Kiir with the proposal. President then agreed with him to eliminate Dr. Riek and others. The plan was that they would secretly take him from Juba to Lake State and then killed on the way. After the killing, all the media house would be informed that they were killed on the way to Lake State while they escaping from. After coming up with the plan to kill Dr. Riek Machar and 7 others and finalized it, the two further agreed that Governor of Lake State Rintuni Mabur would be the right person to do the job. What made them to specifically select Rintuni Mabur, while we have other governors including the governor of Central Equatoria State, where Dr. Riek Machar is under trial, is not clear. I would give my opinion in the last paragraph of this clarification. Governor Rin was called by the president after that to come to Juba, but he was not informed about the reason why he was being called to come to Juba. The special chartered plane was sent to bring him to Juba. This was when people saw Governor Rin being treated that way concluded that Rin was called to be appointed as a replacement of Bull Mel. However, Governor Rin was only surprised when he landed in Juba International Airport and went straight to the house of the president where he got Bull Mel and president sitting together. He was then taken aback or surprised at that point as he began wondering that if he was to be appointed to replace Bull Mel, why would the two would be sitting together to discuss the subject of sacking of Bull Mel? Governor Rin was in that meeting informed about the mission he was called for. The mission they wanted him to carry out was to take Dr. Riek Machar and other detainees out of Juba secretly and then killed them in the forest on the road to Lake State outside Juba City. After the killing, the already selected media houses would be informed to widely publish the news on how Dr. Riek Machar and others were killed. The narrative would be that they were killed when they were outside Juba as they were trying to escape from lawful detention and court trial to join their forces to fight the government. This was the full planned assassination plot. I got this clarification after I made the first updates on the transfer of the case to Lake State. It was when someone outside South Sudan, but with correct version of the narrative contacted me immediately and gave me full facts. He told me that even the removal Bull Mel and appointment of Rintuni that the people have been discussing everywhere, including on social media, is not true. The main purpose that Governor Rintuni Mabur was called was not to be appointed, but he was called to carry out the assassination of Dr. Riek Machar and other political detainees. Fortunately, the same person informed me that Governor Rin did not comment on the mission that he was being assigned to carry out up to now. He finished in the meeting with the president and Bull Mel and went straight to his house with certain mood which showed that he was not comfortable with the idea. From that day, he has been staying quietly in his house, and those went to visit him could not understand why he was nor in a good mood. It was out of speculation as the people could not understand why he was called, picked up with special chartered plane, arrived at Juba International Airport, went to the house of the president immediately, and came back to his house very unhappy. That was when some people gave incorrect information that Governor Rintuni was under house arrest. Before I conclude this clarification, I would like to make the following observations to answer the question that I put before: why Rintuni and not any other governor? The explanation is that General Rin is a leader that is being praised by everyone outside Lake State for his work is seen as the alternative to Bull Mel and therefore the potential threat, which President Kiir is not happy with. Therefore, the two officials have come up with the plan to kill two birds with one stone. They wanted to set up so that if he managed to kill Dr. Riek Machar, which will be suspected to be war crime, and in case of investigation by the international community through the ICC, General Rin will be the one to answer the inquiries, and if possible, he would be surrendered to be tried by court on war crime. Lake State should be aware that the plan to eliminate Rintuni Mabur in the system is one of the leaders of Lake State and two, collide the people of Lakes State with other communities, is not an isolated action. There are many instances where the people of Lake State are used without their knowledge while they are trying to support the government, but later solely blamed for the actions as they protecting the system. For instance, General Mariel Shanyuang was betrayed by the president when he shifted the blame to him on the issue of the killing of Nuer people in Juba by Tiger Division in 2013. Also, the killing of Lake Kerbino by the citizens of Lake State on the directives of the national government were later shifted to the youth that were directed to him by the government. Unfortunately, they were exposed in media as if they were acting on their own. The problem is now between the youth of Rumbek East County and the relatives of Lake Kerbino Wool in Tunge North County. Though the killings done under the mission of the government, in the same line, the people of Lake State were about to be set up through the killing of General Malong Awan and then blamed, and collided them with the people of Awil and other South Sudanese in general. This was seen when General Mader Chut was instructed to ambush and kill General Malong. Fortunately, when late Teller Rin and General Bor Philip, who was then the governor of the defunct Eastern Lake State, managed to convince General Malong Awan until he returned to Juba that averted the confrontation between the forces of General Malong and that of late General Mader Chut. President Kiir became unhappy. After that, he targeted the two officials and sanctioned them in the government until late Teller left the SPLM and joined Dr. Riek Machar Tini until the time when he passed on in Juba. On December 27, 2020, President Kiir hated Teller until the time he died. Late Teller Ring, who was one of liberators, was denied the state funeral not because he was the member of the SPL Mayo, but because he saved the people of Rumbek from set up to have the problem with the people of northern Bahr el Ghazal state. To cut the long story short, the hatred of President towards the people of Lake State is something personal, and it has root in the history of Sudan. He is therefore using all means to destroy their potential leaders as well as putting the citizens of Lake State in conflict with the citizens of other states in South Sudan. General Rin Tooney, as a matter of fact, is now in dilemma. If he accepts, both him and the people of Lake State will bear the blame, but he refuses. He will be sanctioned by President Kiir of sabotaging his plan. Nonetheless, I would like to advise all leaders and citizens of Lakes State to reject the attempt by Bull, Mel, and President to set them up in order to repeat the history and to shade the blood of innocent South Sudanese citizens. Before I conclude, I would also like to urge the citizens of South Sudan and international community to closely monitor the activities of Bull Mel and President Kiir, who wanted to destroy Dr. Riek Machar and other leaders of the SPLMIO. After they have found that there is no case against them, they have now resorted to the use of force. Finally, from the above narrative, it is important to conclude that General Rin Tooney, the governor of Lakes State, was not called to Juba be appointed, but he was called to be briefed on what to do, and if he accepts, then he will be fully facilitated to carry out the mission